love you believe he represents, then spread happiness. This tiny symbolic, semantical grain of happiness. Share it with all those who seek it. Quote me anything from your religious leader or book of choice telling you to stand against this. And then tell me how you can believe both that statement and another statement, and another one which reads only, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You are asked now by your country, perhaps by your creator, to stand on one side or another. You're asked now to stand not on a question of politics, not a question of religion, not on a question of gay or straight. You are asked now to stand on a question of love. All you need to do is stand and let the tiny ember of love meet its own fate. You don't have to help it. You don't have to applaud it. You don't have to fight for it. Just don't put it out. Just don't extinguish it. Because while it may at first look like that love is between two people you don't know and you don't understand and maybe you don't even want to know, that love is in fact the ember of your love for your fellow person. Just because this is the only world we have and the other guy counts too. This is the second time I have found myself in 10 days concluding by turning to, of all things, the closing plea for mercy by Clarence Darrow in a murder trial. But what he said fits what is really at the heart of all of this. He said, I was reading last night of the aspiration of the old Persian poet Omar Khayyam. This is what he told the judge. It appealed to me as the highest that I can vision. I wish it was in my heart. I wish it was in the hearts of all. So I be written in the book of love. I do not care about that book above. Erase my name or write it as you will. So I be written in the book of love. Good night and good luck.
Wow. That was wonderful. That was truly wonderful.
And it was very powerful. And what struck me when I saw it immediately, which is what caused me to write asking permission without talking to any of you first.
I'm glad you did.
Was how well he encapsulated so much and how eloquently he or his writers had encapsulated so much of what everybody's been talking about around this issue.
Yes.
Yeah, when I wrote it, I was moved. And I thought immediately I agreed with every word he said, and hearing him read it on the air, I was moved again almost to tears. And he did capture what's going on. It's a question of basic human dignity. And people shouldn't have to beg for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Along those lines, I'm happy to say that the folks in California have, over the last week, been speaking out very vigorously against the passage of Proposition 8. There have been a lot of celebrities even that have come out against it, but here's somebody with a national platform that actually used his platform to speak his mind. But there were a couple things that struck me when I was reading through the news. The first was Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, when interviewed on CNN's Late Edition on Sunday, he said, "It's unfortunate, this is the passage of Prop 8, but it's not the end, because I think this will go back into the courts. It's the same as in the 1948 case when blacks and whites were not allowed to marry. This falls into the same category." So even the Republican governor of the state has that same slant on it. The ACLU has gotten involved in the court case in California, and they had a very interesting comment. Catherine Lamon said, if an electorate can, through the tyranny of the majority vote, wipe away such fundamental constitutional protections as the right to equal protection for all persons, then we as a state are returning to the bad old days of institutionalized discrimination. While the focus of Prop 8 is on the gay and lesbian community, I think this is a civil rights issue for everyone. Every vulnerable minority group in the state should be extremely concerned about the ability of the majority to reach into the Constitution and change it to single them out and opt them out of the Constitution's protection. That is something no one in this state can or should support. And these are some of the same kinds of arguments that were coming up around our constitutional convention.
And if people in California should be afraid of losing their protections people everywhere should be.
Yes.
I mean, the Constitution protects everyone regardless, or protects no one at all.
Now, and this is their state constitution, but the same idea applies.
Sure.
And we are a free country.
Right. One of the ideal tenets is that, right, Jefferson, that you're entitled to the right to pursue happiness so long as it doesn't infringe upon the happiness of another. And as Keith Olbermann eloquently had said, the allowing gays to marry, ask the folks in Massachusetts that have had it for a while now. The state hasn't collapsed. It hasn't burned up in an inferno of sin.
That's right.
You know,
It hasn't turned into a black hole.
It hasn't turned into a black hole. Allowing gay people to marry does not in any way diminish a heterosexual marriage unless you, the heterosexual in the marriage, allow it to.
Amen.
The ACLU argument that they're taking back to court is actually fairly interesting. I want to mention it. What they're saying is that revoking an existing constitutional right guaranteed by the Equal Protection Clause of the California State Constitution is not an amendment, but a revision. Second, that such a move is not a fundamental right that could be subject to popular vote, i.e. you can pass an amendment to the Constitution with a popular vote. However, a revision of it, taking protections away from somebody, requires something more. It's a deliberative process requiring at a minimum a constitutional convention or a 2/3 vote of the California State Legislature in addition to the popular vote. So their court case is based around the idea that they did not first go to the legislature to get their 2/3 vote before having the popular vote to revoke the right.
Right.
So
Good.
that's
that
actually
could
very
be a good
encouraging.
thing. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, go get them, ACLU. So that was a wonderful piece, and thank you to MSNBC for allowing us to use that. And anyway, so we have a special guest here tonight, Joslynne. You certainly you're part of our organization, and you have been in transition for some time. In fact, you started transitioning probably before we did. At probably a slightly different time, a different period.
Transitioned as a kid.
And so that's kind of a different perspective probably than what we have a bit, and we sort of hoped you would talk a bit about your situation, your history.
I would love to talk about it actually. I was transitioning in the 70s and the 80s, and not only was I transgender and transsexual, but I couldn't decide which way I wanted to go so young. So I also lived as a boy and a girl, and I went to school as a boy and a girl. And my parents were legally in trouble for it many times. So I went to over 12 grammar schools. I went to over 6 high schools. I was kicked out of many schools for it.
Wow.
Until finally, my mom told me to just go to adult ed. They'll let you in, but you have to attend adult ed as a boy. So that was very hard. So I did it. By the time I was 17, I had legally changed my name. I only shared it with certain family members that I was transitioning. Some thought I was decided to just be a boy. And, I wasn't the only family member that was gay either, but, from a big family. And my mother was raised in such a strict religious way. I was so surprised how open and supportive she was. So if my father caught me, my butt would be beat physically. So.
Right. Which is interesting. You can never tell how people are going to react.
Especially at school. I mean, kids fought me all the time because I was different.
Yeah.
I thought I was a freak.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Your mother was actually arrested, was she not? For
a
this?
few times.
That's that's kind of scary.
Yeah, out in public.
Wow.
Yeah. That's when she put me into a counselor. And as long as I had the counselor, I had to deal with that. And she emancipated me. So I could legally change my name and everything, so I had to take responsibility for myself, which that was hard, but I did it. And I was so afraid of what my family was thinking.